Coming up and down Rookity Roy, we look to continue a perfect start to our Champions League defence when we take on Aston Villa away from home, and then, hopefully a bit of revenge for the Portuguese Supercup when we host Sporting in the league. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 102 of Rookie to Royalty here on Shaun Does FM with Benfica. I hope you're doing well and come up day. We've got Aston Villa in the Champions League, and then off the back of a couple of domestic games including in the Cup and the League Cup, we'll take on Sporting in a big league clash. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. It does come off the back of a couple of Champions League games we played yesterday to kick off our defence. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Actually, pretty good episode for us picking up wins. 3-0 over Monaco and 2-1 over Chelsea. Since then, actually, we've picked up pretty comfortable wins in all those games. First up, we beat our affiliate club in Alverca. 2-0 goals there to Pedroto and to Diarra in the first half. And from there, we're not up to too much, but thankfully got the job done there and picked up 3 more points off the back of that. Our first game as we tried to defend the League Cup. Of course, it's a group phase here in Portugal. Just got to try and make sure we pick up maximum points from these 2 games, and we should be fine. And thankfully, got off to a good start there with a 4-0 win over Gil Vicente. The goals there to Matsoso, Nyanzu, Pedroto and Trincao late on with a penalty. So very comfy there over one of the worst teams this season in the Portuguese League. Indeed, they're down second bottom, despite being predicted to finish in 7th. So to be for thought those guys might be a little bit tougher. In the end, though, we somewhat fresh them. And then, if we go back one more game in the league, we pick up a 4-1 win when we took on Firenze, thankfully coming back there from an early goal we conceded to Ibrahim Mbai, Piskunov with a hat-trick, and Nyanzu also popped up there actually with a contender for goal of the season because he scored it from, I'm pretty sure, just outside the box with his foot. So those goals there were quite useful, especially that hat-trick to Piskunov. As you know, his form so far this season has not been too great, but it does mean that we're in a good spot to make our way through out of that group in the League Cup. And also, we do still sit on top of Liga Portugal, especially because Braga have dropped points since you were last here with a 1-1 draw at home against the Vizela team, which is proving quite a handful so far this season. So all of a sudden, got a 2-point gap on top of Liga Portugal, the only team still with a perfect record. But to be fair, we don't have to worry too much about that league until we take on Sporting in that second game in today's episode. But before then, we've got the Champions League, as you saw before, off to a good start there. In yesterday's episode, hopefully it continues as we take on Aston Villa, who, to be fair, have not got off to a good start. Just 1 point from their first 2 games, and really, you would expect the team from the Premier League to be beating underelected homes. They are not looking too good currently. Aston Villa doing okay in the Premier League, sitting up in 10th, but still not too great to start things off in the Champions League. And also, they've only picked up 2 wins in the Prem. Surprisingly, got one over Liverpool. As well as that, though, they've dropped some points against a couple of teams you wouldn't expect them to, in particular Bournemouth as well as Crystal Palace. So far, a little bit of a fair season for Aston Villa. Of course, this was a job we got interviewed for a couple of seasons ago, and they chose Eddie Howe over us. Hopefully here can show Aston Villa that they did choose the wrong man. And really, I think our squad here these days should be able to handle these guys if we could beat Chelsea in yesterday's episode, and especially because injury-wise, in a lot better shape for this one than we were yesterday. Thankfully, our first choice wingers and Enrique as well as Kalafatoğlu have made their way back, albeit our backup in Matsoso at right wing is out with a pulled hamstring for 9 days to 2 weeks. But thankfully, Pedroto has just come back from recent injury himself and can make his way onto the bench. So that does mean we're still pretty good there at right wing. Also, we've got De Rosa, who can do a job there too, as well as Hardland. So not in too bad shape there. And behind a returning Mateus Enrique. So to be fair, I think a stronger team we can put out for this game than we did in both that we played in yesterday's episode on paper against the team who aren't as good as either Monaco or, of course, Chelsea so far this season. So hopefully we're able here to make it 3 wins from 3 to start off this Champions League defence. And, of course, off the back of this, we've got RB Salzburg, which really looked like the lone absolute banker in our fixtures this season, especially with that one being in front of our home fans. Off the back of that, we'll probably come back for in tomorrow's episode Atletico Madrid, who beat us last season, but this time it's at our home stadium instead of away in Madrid. And then Manchester United, who we got thumped by in the Supercup again, though. that one is in Benfica. So hopefully a chance there for revenge on both those teams, but definitely would be very useful to pick up some points here on the road, even in England against a decent Premier League team. But so far, they've been a little bit scratchy, so hopefully here we can back up those good wins against top of the table Monaco and Chelsea in their respective leagues in yesterday's episode and get the job done here. Just one change to our usual best 11. Honestly, I think I just forgot to do it there because I'm pretty sure Diarra is fit and available, but Monsalvo isn't there in the deep line playmaker role. He's been doing a pretty good job recently though, so to be fair, don't think we'll miss out on too much there with Monsalvo over Diarra. Definitely need to fix that up before we play our next big game in this save, but otherwise our first choice 11, which definitely was not the case during yesterday's episode where we thankfully got off to quite a good start, but unfortunately Aston Villa here on the attack earlier. Militao finds some space down that right hand side, that past Kamara will find there Inji, who tries to put that one in the top left corner, but thankfully big save there from Miguel, of course, worth knowing too with this Aston Villa team. They've got Yu Kawamori, who we did sell there and replaced him with Jeremiah Hudland, so that is a bit of extra interest in this one. And Hudland gets in behind there from that ball from Calafat-Toglu, and a really great first time finish on the counter from that corner, so a big chance down the other end, and then we're able to hit them here on the counter. Take some nice work there from Hudland and Calafat-Toglu, and Hudland is going Hu Kawamori, not Yu Kawamori, because that is a great start to this one. We make it 1-0 here at Villa Park, so nice work there from some of our new signings, and now we put some good pressure on them here down this left-hand side. Unfortunately, can't quite get it, and they square it there for Kawamori. Nice ball forward there, but thankfully, they just put that one wide there through their main man up front, who now has a couple of good chances, just not quite being able to beat our goalkeeper or hit the target. Then we have a chance from set piece, but unfortunately can't quite get that one on target. Of course, Nianzu is now starting to look quite threatening from set pieces, just not quite on that occasion, but putting pressure here on Aston Villa as they try and make their way out from the back. It's actually Illing, not Bing, I think I said before, or some completely wrong name like that, but for now, Aston Villa keeping hold of the ball here and trying to make their way out from that, albeit not for too long. For Taya there with a good interception, links up quite well there with Mateus Henrique. A little bit fortunate that we do keep hold of that ball and play it forward there. A good chance, not too sure who that was to on the volley, but the woodwork comes to the rescue of Aston Villa this time. Now free kick there to Villa down the other end. To be fair, I don't think Miguel was going to get caught out by that one, and thankfully it just goes over the crossbar. But so far it's been a relatively even game chances wise. We've just been a bit better with putting ours away, thanks to Jeremiah Hudland, who now does start to get on the front. But again, nice ball there to Calafat-Toglu and over there for Henrique, but unfortunately his cross gets held there quite safely by Israel in goal, and he takes his time here before looking for some options down the left-hand side. And actually, Aston Villa here do quite well to keep hold of the ball. Now Brown starts to make his way forward there and squares this one into the mixer, but thankfully that actually goes just wide. I thought that was a big chance there and it might have got blocked. Thankfully, it was just a miscue. Aston Villa are getting chances in this game and actually have had more shots on target than we have somehow, but we are 1-0 up, so thankfully a little bit lucky here so far in this away game, kind of like was the case when we took on Chelsea yesterday. And a good chance there for Illing, but thankfully that header is not too great, straight into the path of Miguel in goal. So thankfully Aston Villa not quite taking their chances here in the first half. We're 1-0 up, but certainly doesn't feel comfortable yet. Hopefully they'll make this 2-0 sooner rather than later. And indeed we do. Piskunova, a lovely ball forward there to Mateus Henrique, who'll poke that home into pretty close to an open net, and we grab a buffer goal lead, which really I'm not sure we deserve. That might only be our second shot on target of this entire game, but Calafat-Toglu is pulling the strings out there for us in this one. Piskunova does get the assist though, and Henrique, right place, right time to poke that one home. So 2-0 with both our shots on target, resulting in goals. And now might even be a chance for us here to make it 3-0 before the half. We've got a throw in. It's inside our own half, but so far when we've been on the ball, we have looked quite threatening. Some nice skill work there too from Robert Renan to free some space up there for Nadi down our left-hand side. And he too is cooking down that left-hand side, floats at far post there for Mateus Henrique, who picks up a double. So good to have the Brazilian back, rises there like an absolute salmon at the far post. But our defenders here with some really nice work down that left-hand side, and Henri can pick up a quick fire double, which hopefully might put this one to bed. So a nice little spell for us here, just past the half-hour mark, as so often we tend to do in the save, it seems. We make it 3-0, and that will actually do it for the first half of this game. In the end, we did look like the better team stats-wise in that first half, but certainly for a wee while there, Aston Villa were giving us a fair bit to think about up until about the half-hour mark, where, as per usual, we did kick away. So that definitely is becoming a noticeable theme here with all the teams we've managed in the save. It started off at Buxton, then at Jan Regensburg. It continues here at Benfica, and thankfully we're getting away with it, holding here a 3-0 lead at Aston Villa. It certainly is quite a flattering scoreline. We'll see if we can bulk it out a bit further in the second half. This could be actually quite useful for our goal differential if we get in a bit of a fight to try and make our way straight through to that round of 16. If we do drop points tomorrow in those tough games against Madrid as well as Manchester United. But a couple of subs here that we can make. Trincao will come on for Hudland, and also we'll take off Fortea. A little bit of a deep yellow card, not quite on a green rating. Peretti can come on for him there at right back. So a couple of subs here, just looking here to keep an eye on our players' fitness and make sure no one gets too tired, because I think here, this game now is pretty well under control. We'll now take off Kalafitoglu, about to drop down, it looks like, to a red heart. Also, we've got Nardi at left back, who's a little bit knackered. Definitely not Petrodo for him. It will be Renato. And we could also here take off Castillejo or Monsalvo. Luis is probably the guy on the bench who's the best suited to replace Castillejo. So I think that'll be our final sub. Of course, not going to take off Henri there, seeing as he's sitting on a hat-trick. So that'll be all our subs here with just over 15 minutes left. So hopefully no injuries in this last little patch of the game, which might give Aston Villa a way back into this one. But to be fair, second half, we have been the team who have been a little bit better, certainly been more consistently on top than we were in the first half. As I said, it does usually take us a good half hour to get going properly in some of these games here with this Benfica team. Eventually, there is another highlight here in the second half of this game. Aston Villa going to try and make their way here out from the back. Yu Kawamori must be wondering if he really wanted that move to Aston Villa, because at the moment, his new team are kind of getting spanked here just a little bit. But nice cut out there from Robert Renan does mean this highlight actually might be in our favour. Trincao, though, a little bit loose on the ball, so it does mean that Aston Villa might be able to do something here on the counter-attack. Yu Kawamori does get in behind, but thankfully Miguel puts some really good pressure on him, and secret agent man Yu Kawamori, it might be more Hu Kawamori off the back of this game, puts that one wide. Jeremiah Hudland scoring that first goal on the counter-attack quite early, and then just past the half-hour mark, a quick fire double to Mateus Henri does mean that we pick up a pretty comfy 3-0 win. Stats-wise, definitely not as comfortable as the scoreline made it look. Aston Villa were giving us plenty to think about there, especially in the first half hour or so of that game. But thankfully, our defence, it holds firm, and we put a bit of a hurting there on Eddie Howe's men, then off to a good start in the Champions League this season. That makes it 9 points from 3 games, joint top there with Man City. Off the back of that 3-0 win over Aston Villa, will come back shortly and hopefully pick up some wins in cup games before taking on Sporting in the league. And we've gone for a week and a half there off the back of that 3-0 win over Aston Villa, and thankfully have done the job in both the cup games that we have played. First up, we've actually won a game in the Liga Portugal, the proper Portuguese Cup, here for the first time as a manager at Benfica. Of course, last season, that was the round where we got beaten by a mid-table second division team, but thankfully this time get the job done over Oliveira do Hospital. Of course, that, quite interesting, they were after us around the same time Jan Regensburg were, all the way back at Buxton, but thankfully they're a relatively comfortable 4-1 when they grabbed a goal back late, and then Marcelo Rodriguez picked up a double to make that one 4-1, so we've made our way through to the next round of that competition. To be fair, tricky opposition in that next round. Bazella, you saw earlier, they took points off Braga and are inside of a European qualifying spot. So they actually could be a tricky game before we come back for that Champions League double in tomorrow's episode. But thankfully then we made sure to make our way through to the quarterfinals of the Liga Liga, the League Cup, which of course we won here last season with a 3-0 win over Aruca, putting out here a pretty heavy rotation for this game. But in the end, we picked up a 3-0 win, couple there of big players coming off the bench to make sure we finally put these guys away in Piskunov and Nyanzu, and also Pedroto picked up an injury off the back of scoring that third goal. So going through the next round of that League Cup. So thankfully this season, everything going well here at Benfica, and hopefully that continues. In Liga Portugal these days, not on top because Braga have played 2 more games than us, but we've got those in hand and are only 2 points behind them, so when here would mean we go back on top. But this could be a little bit tricky. We do host Sporting, so thankfully got the home advantage, but this is the team that beat us in a bit of FM fashion with a 1-0 win back at the Supercup at the start of the season. A quick look at the stats from this game in case you missed it, because we were all over them, and somehow that first attack of the game that they had there through Quenda, and they beat us despite us absolutely barging on their door for the rest of this game. We could not get the job done there at the stats. 2.09 XG and no goals, so very disappointed that we didn't pick up a win in that game. Hopefully this time can get some revenge where it counts. In the league itself, unfortunately, a couple more injuries. Matsoso is nearly back from his pulled hamstring, and our third choice goalkeeper, a minor injury that's not too concerning, but Pedroto as well is out with a damaged heel, so it means that both our out-and-out right-wing backups are currently missing for this game. We're going to play our strongest team against an outfit like Sporting anyway, but it does mean that on the bench likes of De Rosa might need cover right wing, as well as someone like Grace Kabangu, so we'll see how things go for this game, and also a couple of players on heavy workloads. As you can see down there on the bench, the main one, Jeremiah Hudland, is quite injury prone when he is on one, so that does mean that Francisco Trincao makes his way into the team here in that shadow striker role, but apart from that, it's our first choice 11. Let's hope here that we can get the job done. Piskunov actually in some quite good form all of a sudden here at Benfica off the back of that poor start he did have to this season. So let's hope here we can pick up a win and go back on top of the table off the back of Braga, that 3-0 win they picked up there over Vitória Guimarães. So hopefully here can reclaim our rightful spot on top of Liga Portugal, of course, as well. Get some revenge for that Super Cup defeat we did suffer at the start of the season. To be fair to these guys, pushed us quite close both times we took them on in the league last season as well. I'm pretty sure we might have just beat them both times. Might have even been a draw in there, either at home or away, but these guys are quite a tricky team, so we'll see how we get on. Hopefully can pick up a win, seeing as we're the European champions and all that. Just try and get Hinyanzi to calm down if we can. A little bit concerned about his frame of mind off the back of that team talk, but we can't. Let's hope here he uses it in some good fashion and can score from some set pieces like he did in those couple of games we played in yesterday's episode. But here's Sporting going with a good old 4-4-2, good old dice ball and all that sort of stuff. They're only 1 point behind us there on that table, but here played a couple more games. Definitely a chance for us here to make the most of these games in hand that we do have, albeit Sporting, one of the tougher teams that we'll take on all season, albeit with home advantage. Hopefully can get the job done like we did in that Monaco game in our Champions League opener in yesterday's episode. So hopefully here won't drop our first points in the league and on the ball here for a fair while from this first highlight. Eventually find Fortea there in space down our right hand side. Nice square there, and unfortunately their goalkeeper comes up with a big save and a big chance early. Can't quite take it. Let's hope that doesn't prove costly. Now we look for Piskunov there for some reason from that set piece, not Nyanzu, and he can't quite get a shot on target, and now just do enough there to keep hold of the ball, but unfortunately a bit of a jostle there down left wing, and that highlight does come to an end, but quite a big chance there really for us to make it 1-0. Some nice work there down our right hand side, but can't quite put it away there. Goalkeeper coming up with a big save. Fortea already on a yellow card, so probably going to take him off at halftime for Puri, but we do keep the ball here for him off the back of that throw, and Castillejo drifts out here a little bit. That ball though not too good, and Sporting will try and clear the lines. Thankfully not too well. Diarra can step up there and win that ball back for us, and actually does quite well after the pass to make sure he's in a good position just back there on the ball again. Nadi or Diarra goes looking there for Castillejo, who gets brought down. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a penalty. It looked like some pretty clear contact, and the bloke definitely did not win the ball, so you'd like to think here this will be a penalty. Now, not too sure if it'll be Trincao or Piskunov taking this, because Piskunov usually the taker in our first team, and indeed that's the case. Trincao does take them when he does make his way into the team. Sometimes maybe it's more with our rotation, but thankfully Piskunov there can put that one past Garcia, who made that good save from that first chance we had. Actually went the right way, but too much power, and Piskunov can continue a little bit of a resurgence in form and make it 1-0, just shy of the halfway mark here in this first half. So a little bit of a gift there from Sporting to give us the lead. To be fair, so far they're actually dominating the ball quite well. That's a little bit of a concern, because we're supposed to be playing something something like a control position style here with Benfica. It's what we've been using at the last couple of clubs ever since we did that Buxton base back with Buxton all the way down in the National League. Now Nyanzu, an orange injury, a little bit of a concern to Beefy. That first half was not up to too much, but thankfully they gave away that penalty and we took it there through Piskinov's up here 1-0. Will take off those defenders in a bit of bad shape for Taya on that yellow card for Peretti, and also Rui Silva can come off the bench and hopefully do a decent job here for Nyanzu, who has picked up an orange injury. Hopefully that's not too serious and he might be able to score here in the second half like he did so often for us last season from set pieces. Now Diarra, an early yellow card here in the second half, so Monsalvo can come on for him. This time around got that right, unlike for that first game at Beefy. Monsalvo did a pretty good job in that 3-0 win over Aston Villa, and off back of that sub, there's a free kick, just able here, keep hold of the ball, but then Piskinov does give it away there with that here, and actually Sporting briefly looked like they might get a chance on the counter-attack, but thankfully Monsalvo does drop back and get us here back on the ball. Lovely one over the top there for Kalafatoğlu, who takes on the shot, but unfortunately the woodwork that time comes to the rescue of Sporting, so really now a couple of chances to grab a buffer goal lead in this game. Can't quite take it. Monsalvo there with a good foul of Sporting, try and get something going on the counter-attack, but certainly the better team in this game. Not super dominant, but probably deserve a 2-0 lead, just haven't quite taken it so far. They try and boot that one deep, thankfully when in the air, and Kalafatoğlu can get us back here on the attack. On Reek though, can't quite link up with Piskinov. Now a good chance here through Dovbik down the left-hand side. He plays it back there to one of their defenders. Suarez does drift back. Let's see what Garcia does. Picks out the defender on a yellow card, but Sporting here keeping the ball quite well. Ben White there into a teammate who loses it. A shocking tackle. It was Suarez, and that's going to put them in all sorts of trouble. They're down to 10 men, so I think now we can maybe think about taking off some players here not doing too well. It'll be Rodriguez coming off for Kalafatoğlu on a 6 point for only one more sub we can make off the back of this, but that should really prove quite costly in this game. A one-man advantage as the champions of Europe. It should be quite useful in the Portuguese League. A free kick there, which does come off the woodwork, and shortly off the back of that Trincao drops down to a red card. I think for this game, might have to bring on De Rosa and put Piskinov back into that shadow striker role, with Hudland being so injury prone. So that's a move we'll make there with our final sub. Hopefully now won't go down to 10 men just like these guys did, but we find Rui Silva at the far post. That's only his first goal of this season, so definitely not as lethal as he was from set pieces here last year with the addition of Nyanzu in that first team, but he finally puts one away there at the far post and makes it 2-0, and we finally grab a buffer goal lead here against the 10 men of Sporting. It might get even worse now that we have put the nail in their coffin, you'd think, with that man advantage that we do have De Rosa with a free kick. We take it short. Pretty there. We'll pull this one back nicely for Rodriguez, but pulls that one wide. Nice chance for us there to make it 3-0, but can't quite get the job done now. There's a set piece for us here. Another chance from a corner with just under 15 minutes left. On Reek tries to pick out Silva, can't quite, but Peretti does keep us here on the attack. Mateus Henrique will cut inside. I'm pretty sure that shot has taken a decent deflection, but it makes its way into the back of the net. We might even go attacking late on here, seeing as Sporting down to 10 men, but really it's just for fun and games, because that should make sure going to keep our perfect record here in Liga Portugal this season. A definite deflection there on that shot from Mateus Henrique, but a nice pass to find him there from Peretti, just in some space there, down that left-hand side, cuts in, and can put that one away. So a little bit of interesting position in there from Henrique, who's usually our right winger, off the back of that set piece, but we make it 3-0. We've gone attacking. Let's see if we can really here put a hurting on Sporting and bump up that goal differential, which could be useful if we eventually do drop points in the knockouts of the Champions League, if playing a bit of a weak team here in these league games. But to be fair, nothing happened off the back of going attacking. I'm not too sure if it actually works that well with the tactic we use here at Benfica. Sometimes just sticking on positive is the best way to go, but that a relatively comfortable win. A little bit of a slog out there before they got the red card, with just that Piskinov penalty proving the difference maker in the first half. But Suarez with that shocking tackle relatively early in the second, and from there grabbed a few more goals for Rui Silva and Mateus Henrique, who I think it's fair to say the best player we had in today's episode, coming back from injury. That double in the Champions League game, and picked up one there as we pick up a couple of 3-0 wins and go back on top of Liga Portugal off the back of that Circular Derby win over Sporting. So a couple of good 3-0 wins for us there during the course of today's episode. A little bit lucky it felt like at times in the Aston Villa game. Took us a while to get going and they were a bit wasteful with their chances in that game. Didn't really kick away till they got that red card there sporting, but still a couple of nice wins. Nianzou did pick up an injury, but thankfully not nearly as serious as it looked like it might be. So he definitely should be available by the time we come back for tomorrow's episode. Hopefully still be on top of Liga Portugal as long as Braga don't sneak in any more games than we've played by that stage, but in a strong position with those games in hand that we do have. And of course in the Champions League we're looking quite good, a perfect record so far. We've got Red Bull Salzburg before we come back for tomorrow's episode. Surely that's a win, even though those guys aren't doing that badly, above the likes of Napoli down there in 23rd place. Some quite big teams currently sitting outside of that first knockout playoff round qualification, which is interesting to see all the Portuguese teams who sit in there in Braga and Sporting. So the Portuguese League is doing quite well, but as I said, we'll come back tomorrow for that double header of Atletico Madrid and Manchester United, both home games. Hopefully, chance for us to get a bit of revenge on those two teams for last season in Madrid's case and the Supercup in the case of Manchester United. But that will do it for today's episode. Couple of 3-0 wins. If you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well until tomorrow for that Champions League double. Big games as we host Atletico Madrid and Manchester United. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.